Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to create one of these tripod vessels using one single sheet of slab. You will have the options to create a lid later on or handles, or whatever you may feel like for surface decorations. Some of the materials you'll be needing will be a sponge, a scoring rib, a flexible smoothing rib, a bevel cutter, a wooden spoon, a blending tool, a cutting tool, and a roughly 12 by 7 inch slab. To begin, you must bevel both sides using a bevel tool. Use the longer edge to create a lot of surface area for when you connect. After cutting one side, remember to flip and cut the opposite side as well. After beveling both sides, go ahead and take your scoring rib and score both sides really well. You then take the slab and put it on a banding wheel. Although a banding wheel is not necessary, it definitely will help your work to be more symmetrical. Create a U shape and then apply slip along the scored areas. Be generous with the slip on both sides. From here, please tell students to make sure that the cuts is away from you. So you will be able to use your fingers to create a better circle. Some students like to push this side facing them. As you can see, the inside of your wrist does not form a round shape. The fingers can be articulated and form a better circle. That's why I encourage them to use your fingertips to curve rather than your wrist. Compress the cut areas and then use a wooden blending tool to blend. Blend away from the cuts, not towards it. On the inside, once again, blend away and not towards. Notice where my left hand is, compensating for the pressure. You want to be able to control the pressure you put on so that it does not go out of shape. From here, use your flexible metal rib, rest it in your pinky and index finger, and apply pressure with the thumb to create a curve. This curve will go well or match the surface of now a cylinder shape. At this point, create an equilateral triangle using your fingertips and your thumb. Do not make it pointy. Keep the surfaces round or the corners. Go back and score the edges. And apply slip. Spread thoroughly. For this next part, you will need your flexible rib, and the idea, as you can see, these edges are facing up. You want to curl it in so the scored areas are facing each other. So I bend my flexible rib. As you can see, it's being curved in, and now the scored areas are facing in. I do this to all the sides of the triangle. Now this side is facing in. The reason for this is that these sides will meet and slowly close what will make the bottom of your piece. Keep revisiting until that shape starts to close. From here, I take my index finger and thumb, not at this point, but slightly behind it, as you can see, to create a closed area. That might reopen up, but we will revisit it every single time. This pinching motion will temporarily hold it in place. Next, you will take scrap clay, cut it roughly double the size of the negative space of the bottom of your piece. I take my 45-degree angle cutter or my bevel tool and cut all sides. You will now have a shape what looks like to be a pyramid without a top. Score. And apply slip. From here, take your tripod vessel, score, and take your triangle and simply fit it in the cavity. Take your blending tool and blend away from the center, not down, but away. You don't want to cave it in by having too much downward pressure. Take your time, smoothing it out and compressing the particles together. Encourage your students to keep doing this until there's no signs of cuts or seams. After the bottom is smoothed out, the particles compressed, you're ready for the next step. What you have right now inside are these cavities. Those must be filled with clay so that you have a nice flat or slightly curved interior. The way you do that is to create 3 marble-sized clay balls. You create it and turn it into a point. So as you can see, these things plug right in that cavity. To begin filling the cavity, you take your 3 marble-sized balls, you score the points very well with your scoring rib, and roughly using your knife, score the inside. Apply slip, take your ball to the point, apply slip, and simply control, drop it in the cavity and wiggle it free. What I'm about to do is to blend this ball on the inside using this spoon. So I blend to the left, blend to the right, and every other direction until this ball is smoothed out with the entire surface. Now that all 3 pieces have been dropped in the cavity, encourage students to lift up the piece and cradle it between their fingers. You don't want to be doing this on the surface, applying downward pressure, because you will collapse the bottom. This will minimize the expansion or the drooping of the bottom through the blending process. Like I showed you in the illustration, I'm blending to the left, to the right, and then up and down. Do this thoroughly until the whole thing is absolutely flawless. The interior of the piece, when completed, should look something like this. Fairly clean and smooth. The next step is to take your wooden spoon and slowly undulate the body out. As you can see, this spoon is what is used to expand the body. So what you want is the interior wall to be expanded from the previous straight line. Once again, I will take my wooden spoon, cradle the piece so that I don't apply too much downward pressure, which may cause the feet to collapse. So from here, I cradle it, and I just work that spoon all the way around, and you can feel the body slowly expand. Notice the motion that I employ in order to expand that piece. With only a few revolutions, that you can see that the body has slowly expanded. Remind students that as you slowly expand the body, the walls get thinner. So make sure you encourage them to constantly feel the thickness to make sure that they don't collapse the piece or sacrifice structural integrity. Now that you need to make the surface round, take once again your flexible metal rib and curve it along the surface. Now this is a soft touch. You don't want to cave back in what you have created. After undulating the body, you will now begin the restriction of the neck. So that process goes like this, applying pressure inside there using different kind of tools. So you have the body curving out, the neck curving in, and later on the lip flaring out. To begin working on the neck, again, use the metal flexible rib, curve it, and from the lip, slowly push the neck inward, creating a slow concave shape. A slower pace allows you to control where the shape goes. Notice I do it in a turning motion, a little bit at a time. And from that little bit, you can see the neck is slowly moving in. After a few minutes of moving the neck in, you may now slowly turn it right side up. At this point, your left hand or non-tool hand is on the inside of the lip, while the rib applies very little pressure to the body and higher pressure to the neck. What you're seeing is that the slow flaring out of the lip, constricting of the neck, at the same time smoothing out the bulge of the body. This requires tremendous muscle memory in terms of pressure. So light pressure in the body, heavier pressure in the neck, and the lip is just feathering out. Encourage the students to create their own shape by bulging it mid or high. They can use the curved side to move the curve lower or higher. So now they can personalize their piece at this point. The next step is to create a little ledge for the top to sit on using this modified tool using a popsicle stick. As you can see, this sits on the rounded lip and creates a mark on the inside. This will give you an even mark downward of the lip. Now that I'm happy with it, I can use the opposite side and make that ledge deeper, making room for my lidded piece. To create a domed lid, you could start with a slab the same thickness as your piece. You'd want that piece to be slightly larger than the lip itself. You can either use a plastic tool to do so, or if you want a more accurate piece, you could let it sit in the center and just make a mark, spin, and let your knife drop over the area where you have marked. From here, you can use your wooden spoon or your flexible metal rib. The idea is to let that disc sit in the palm of your hand as you apply pressure towards the center. Continually restrict your fingers to contain the disc as you spin and put around pressure towards the piece. As you can see, it created this rough dome, which you can now begin to polish. I actually use my same popsicle stick by slightly pushing the inside edge of that dome like this. I keep doing this until the inside lip actually fits the inside of my piece. As you can see, I have a few or a fraction of an inch to work with. So keep repeating the process of pushing in until it drops in. Now it's perfect fit. Your next step is to polish the surface. So you get rid of the tiny cracks. You use again your flexible metal rib. From the side, slowly just smooth the surface. This concludes the very basic construction process for your tripod lidded vessel. Obviously, students now have the option to create their handles on the lid or on the side, turn to a pitcher or a mug. At this point, you should have prepared 5, 6, or 7 different examples for decorative options. What I like to do for my class is have these all displayed right after the demo so they can begin thinking about what they can do to their pieces even prior to construction. The way I like to set up my examples is pairing it with this printout. The printout simply states what sort of technique that I use to achieve these textures or design. For this one, I use subtractive layer, and I would show them which tools I use to do so. The moisture level of the clay, so that they know what state of clay they have to do or bring their piece to prior to creating the piece. Here's a subtractive design, and as you can see, it's quite fragile. Things to watch out for is basically collapse of the cracks and spacing out your cuts. For this one, we use slip to decorate the additive portions of this piece. Here are impressions, but the moisture level of this piece has to be semi-moist or a soft leather in order for your texture to absorb the texture. For this one, surface manipulation, once again, the surface has to be quite moist for you to be able to push that piece outward, and sculptural. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Follow my students' work at Mr. P Ceramics for glazing examples later on. Thank you.